everyone. Just gonna make sure this is showing up in the right place. I'll wait for y'all to hop on. Welcome. So great to see you coming on. Hi, hello. All right. Hopefully you can hear me just fine. Hello, Jamie. Hello, Haley. Okay, so hi. I love hopping on and seeing all your beautiful faces. All right, so I'm here to talk today about the energetics of the feminine and the masculine, otherwise known as the alpha and the omega, the sun and the moon, the yin and the yang. It's important to recognize that feminine and masculine doesn't suit everyone's preferences, and if that's you, that's perfectly fine. Let's find a substitute that feels really good for a lot of people, that is alpha and omega, and these energies are living within you at all times, no matter who you are, no matter what your gender is. So we're gonna go into that, and I have a few things that I wanna say first before I just jump in. First, thank you all for being here. I acknowledge each one of you that is a participant, a student, so to say, someone that is partaking in the listening and someone that is partaking in the teaching. This is such a beautiful cause to help single mothers during this really interesting time in history. And so I think it's so beautiful for all of you who are coming to learn and using this quarantine time as this really nurturing cocoon era of your life to go inward. There's a lot of both feminine and masculine happening simultaneously right now during this quarantine. I'll raise my light here. There we go. During this quarantine, because we're having all of this time to feel what is arising within us, as well as sit in stillness. So it's a really interesting time for feeling the dynamics of both of these energies happening at the same time, which isn't always the case. Sometimes we get really deep into one or the other. All right, so I'm gonna jump right in. I'll share a little bit about my background first. So I was born and raised in an incredibly black or white household. I was raised in a religious household, but it wasn't the religion necessarily that put me into a lot of, I would say, like living in a box. Like from the moment I was born, there was a specific person I was supposed to be. I was supposed to be a moon girl. Like I didn't know what that meant, but a moon girl, because my last name is actually Moon. Yes, it is. But I was supposed to be this perfect moon girl who was a Christian, who was pure, who was sweet, who was kind, who looked a certain way, acted a certain way, had these friends, not these friends, said these things, didn't say these things. There was this reputation that I was born into, and it was all this weight on my body to hold true to it. So what that means is there was no room for exploration about who I was going to be, who I wanted to be. No exploration of my feelings, of my body, of my heart, of my thoughts, like what I wanted to believe in. And so from childhood, there was this immense pressure to get it right, to do it right. And I think what a lot of people relate with is to be good. There was this immense pressure to be good. And you know what's not always good? Our emotions, our feelings. And they don't always make sense, right? They don't always make sense. Or if you were raised in a household where you weren't allowed to be mad at your caretakers, there's this part of you, this fundamental part of your child, your inner child that's like, I don't like that, or yes, I want that. That gets completely shut off, your yes and your no. So even from a child, especially being a feminine creature, your intuition that comes from the womb, the part of you that feels expansive and feels yes, or the part of you that feels contracting and says no, starts to be dismissed, starts to be muted. And so we go on this journey of being raised and growing up and having this pressure on us, whether or not you relate to what my experience was of being good and doing things right. We're born into a society that puts so much focus, and we all know this, on the hustle and the go, go, go. Which actually, to be very clear, is not the masculine. It is a more masculine-like quality because it's very active in like moving forward the direction of your goals. But go, 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 and having to get things right and win and fully embody the self and only the self, that's not necessarily a masculine quality. So I'm going to go into that now and break down what these two are. Like I said at the beginning of this, you have alpha and omega within you at all times. Doesn't matter what your sexual preference is or what your gender is, they're always existing. Just like at the same time that you have light within you, you have dark. You live in a lot of light, but you were born through darkness. It's the shadow side. It's the sun and the moon. So the lineage that I have studied through is David Data's. I don't know if anyone here is familiar with this, but David Data wrote this really wonderful book called The Way of the Superior Man and Dear Lover, Blue Truths. And he wrote a book called Wild Nights. Those are all great books to look into. So in the lineage of David Data, there is the feminine and the masculine. So I'm going to stick with those words just because it keeps things really simplified and easy for me, because that's what I'm used to. But you, again, can think of this as however works for you, if it's alpha, omega, sun or moon, yin and yang. In this lineage, this is different from what you're going to hear from a lot of masculine and feminine teachers, because a lot of times they put a lot of focus on strength and softness, or hustle and flow, which is very true. But at the core essence of the part of you that is masculine, let's start there. The masculine within you is the part of you that has never changed, ever. It is the part of you that you were born with and you will die with. It's the part of you that goes back into the ether or wherever you think you go once you become pure energy again after this life is over and gets reincarnated. It's the part of you that is the same exact piece that is within me. Another way you can think about the masculine is nothingness. It's stillness. It's silence. It's like going up into space and being in the nothingness, and then you see the planets and you see the stars, and that's all the feminine. So I'm going to bring this into some context because I know sometimes this verbiage can get like a little bit out there. So when you think about the metaphor of, let's say, a river, and look at the energetics of a river, the river bed would be the masculine. The water running through it, flowing and like hitting the rocks and going crazy and drowning things, that's the feminine. So the actual bed is the masculine. Just like inside of this room, I have 4 walls surrounding me. It is the masculine. We can see the masculine in our bodies. We can see it in the physical world, in the tangible. We can see it in the spiritual. So let's look at all that. The masculine right now, I am like the feminine. I'm full of energy and I'm talking and I'm teaching, but I'm inside of this room that's keeping me really safe. The 4 walls and the house. We can look at the ground, this chair I'm sitting on. It's all of the supportive structures. And if we go even more into the detail, it's the skin I'm in. I have a container. So the masculine is the container. It's the thing that holds things. So this body right here is my container. It's holding all the energetics going on within. So within you, your body is your masculine. It's the container that's holding all of the energy and motion, all of the emotion happening within. It is the bed that holds you at night. It is the structure of this the Adapt and Rise Summit of like, we start at this time, we end at this time. These are the speakers. It's the structure. It's the thing we can depend on and rely on. So one other very important thing I'm getting a low network connection here. I hope everything is okay. One other very important thing to lean into is that the masculine is also what makes you feel really safe to go into the feminine. One of the ways I like to describe this, because I get a lot of women who come to me and say, I need more work on my feminine, it's my masculine I have down pat. But the masculine truly is not the part of you that can hustle. It's the part of you that can sit in stillness when nothing else is happening and be okay. The masculine isn't you waking up promptly at 6:30 and going to the gym and then eating breakfast and then walking the dog and then going to work and then checking off. That's not necessarily a masculine. It takes masculine qualities to have discipline. But one of the deepest forms of the masculine that you're most likely experiencing right now is to be in nothingness and breeze through it. So with this quarantine happening right now, a lot of us are stuck at home and we've got a lot of energy. Like, oh my God, I've got all this energy. Maybe it's anxiety coming up. Maybe it's fear coming up. Maybe it's excitement coming up. Maybe it's eroticism coming up. You have all these things coming up. And feeling it is the job of the feminine. Feeling all this energy coming up, allowing it, making room for it is the job of the feminine. The job of the masculine is to hold all of that. Hold that experience for you. Instead of projecting it onto someone else, saying, oh my God, I feel all these things, fix it, change it, make it stop. You there, closest person in my life, husband, wife, you, help me fix this. Your masculine's job is to hold all of that for you, all of the emotion going on, which sometimes means going into stillness and being in stillness, being in meditation. So a way that you embody your masculine is through meditation. That is the masculine practice. A lot of people think, again, that's a feminine practice because you're going inward. But it's actually a masculine practice because you're being in stillness and you are as close to death as you can be. When you use your body as a physical container, you are in the masculine. In relationship, the masculine is the part of you that feels heavily burdened. So the masculine's part of you, I'm going to say him, just to keep things clear. The masculine in you, his deepest desire is to be free from burden. So when we go into meditation and we feel nothingness, stillness, peace, our masculine is soothed by having nothing. Our masculine's deepest desire is to go into the desert where there's nothing around, no trees, no nothing, no people, and just be free from burden. The masculine is the one that says we start here, we stop here. It's the masculine energy is the one on a date that says, okay, be ready by 7, I'll pick you up then. Don't worry about making any decisions, baby, I've got you. We're going here. Don't even worry about it. I'm taking care of you. It's the part of that dynamic, the alpha that leads in that way, that allows the omega to go, that's trustable. I believe that. So I'm going to pause there on the alpha masculine. We're going to look now at the feminine, the omega. So if the masculine is time, space, consciousness, stillness, death, what does that mean? The feminine is the complete opposite. The feminine is, in the most blunt definition, she is energy. This can get a little confusing because we say, oh, let's talk about the masculine and feminine energies. But in the core of the feminine, she is energy. So if we look at this riverbed and river example with the water, the river being the feminine, that is pure energy moving. Let's say that I have this tea here and I've got, all this tea in here without the cup, without this container, it'd go everywhere. Because that's what energy does. It's chaos. It's uncontrollable. It's wild. It's free. And so when we talk about the wild feminine, we talk about what is within us untamed. This is why this is so important in modern day society when we are born through being tamed. Since birth, we have been taught how to be tamed as women specifically. No matter how much masculine energy you have or feminine energy that you have, the feminine in all human beings has been born through the, I would say like the, not rose-colored glasses, but like the glasses of being tamed. Because it's so powerful. Because the feminine is energy and it is chaos, obviously. Like human beings are like, oh my God, chaos, how do we control that? How do we control fear and sadness and joy and elation and eroticism and birth and beauty and what cannot be explained? Even anger is a feminine quality. Even when a man is at the angriest he is and he has anger issues, that's the most feminine he will ever be because he is deep in his state of emotion. So the feminine is energy pulsing through your body, pulsing through your root chakra, pulsing through earth, the stars, what is alive, what is beauty, what is rich, what is divine, what is wild and untamable. And we start creating these stories from, oh God, okay, so for tens of thousands of years, women have been having their throats cut, they've been burned at the stake, they have been quartered, they have been sold, they have been raped, they have been abused for speaking, for smelling flowers for too long, for cuddling with animals. All of those things, you did that, you would be labeled as a witch. And being a witch meant you had powers, meant you could heal people with your love, with your beauty, with your abilities that one cannot understand. So therefore we kill. That is the mindset. That's the mindset of like going back 10,000 years ago. Like that's the mindset of what we cannot understand and what we cannot explain, we kill. Because that is too frightening. And then the patriarchy was born of, oh, well, let's think of some other ways instead of killing that we can control. We can create stories, we can create beliefs, we can create rules of men own these creatures. Let's just do that. Let's just say men own these creatures from like father gives birth to daughter, hands her over to him, and then he decides the rules. All these different, the patriarchy has just it's created all these ways to control that which is not understood. Because there are secrets within the feminine, like there really are. And I don't just mean within women, I mean within all human beings. Within primarily masculine creatures, aka men, are deep secrets as well. Beauty, pleasure, and that's one of our deepest gifts. So I came today prepared. I wanted to talk about, especially around the feminine, 4 things that are really going to allow you to start going into this feminine energy you have within you. So this isn't on my list, but number 1, I want to make this very clear that the deepest the first place and space for you to begin in honoring your feminine is honoring the emotions that arise. Full stop. Period. If you're upset at someone, acknowledge it. It doesn't need to be valid or truthful or right or wrong or justified. You just validate it right there. I feel this way. This is what I feel. That's all that matters. I was having a conversation with someone about this, about like when you feel something in that process we typically go through of trying to make the irrational rational. That's what we've been doing for tens of thousands of years, is feeling feelings and then trying to rationalize the chaos. And the sooner you can realize that chaos cannot be rationalized, the quicker you will get into simply jumping over that step and validating it yourself. If you feel upset at anything at all, at something you hear, at something someone said, or a way something went, or a disappointment, looking forward to something and then a disappointment, or especially during this quarantine, maybe there are things you're upset about, but your rational mind tries to tell you that you shouldn't feel that way because, well, at least you have food in your belly and a roof over your head. The way you begin to honor this feminine essence within you, the deepest, right from the start, is simply allowing whatever comes up to have space. Allowing whatever comes up. Whatever comes up, make room for it. You can have two things exist at once. You can feel a certain way while also knowing, this is the masculine. The feminine is, I feel this way. The masculine says, I can hold that truth for myself while also holding the possibility there's another bigger truth available. I can hold the truth that I feel upset or disappointed by XYZ for myself, while also holding the possibility there is something bigger at play. That's when the bird's eye view happens, when you fly up into the air and say, okay, here's how I feel, and here is the situation as a whole of what's happening. This person said this thing, this thing happened. Both people are coming at each other with their traumas and their fears and their projections. The masculine part of you is holding all of that, holding my arms out, holding all of that as truth while you have your own personal experience. And this is why I often say, it's almost more important for you to go into your masculine before you go deep into your feminine, because if you don't have that capacity to hold what is coming up, you can't go very deep. You can't go deep into your feelings if you don't know, is this gonna be forever? If I feel this way, does that mean I have to cut off everyone that I love because my emotion will be so deep, I'm gonna have to go inside of my bedroom and feel things all day long? The masculine is the part of you that says, I hear you, you're feeling pain, you're hurting. Let's give you 30 minutes to lie on your mat and move that emotion through your body. So I'm going to go into that in a second. So here are the four things that came up for all of you for going into your feminine. So these four things, this is some masculine structure to it, so I'm giving you the masculine here. And if you just focus on these four things, especially over this time you've been given for the quarantine, you're going to start to notice these subtle shifts that are going to make the hugest difference. So the first thing that I mentioned was the emotions. That's like a separate thing of just like allowing whatever comes up. Now, the number one thing that I have on this list, this is actually in no particular order, but the first thing I'm going to share is pleasure. Pleasure is something that has been felt to be co-opted by the male gaze for these last tens of thousands of years. And so as a method of protection, what many primarily feminine creatures have done is shut off their pleasure. If I don't show anyone that I feel good, no one will try to take that. No one will go, I want that. That looks so good. I want that pleasure. I'm going to take it. I'm going to abuse it. I'm going to have it. It's mine. It's mine. It's mine. It's mine. And that has happened in our world, without a doubt. That has happened in our world. So there's plenty of reason for the feminine to go, I don't want to show my pleasure. It's too scary. It means scary things. It means I'm not safe. So your nervous system has this response that when I feel good, I am not safe, which is not truth. And your masculine knows that is not truth. That does not mean things have not happened in your life. It does not mean that you have not been abused and taken advantage of. A lot of people have in this world. Most of us have. I would say everyone has to some degree. But when you can begin to step into your agency and your sovereignty, and you fully recognize your capability, your power of saying yes when you mean it, saying no when you mean it, holding your own space, holding that capacity for everything to happen at once, your masculine says, I've got you. You are safe to feel your pleasure again. When we turn off our pleasure as feminine creatures, there are two deaths that happen. And I learned this from one of my teachers, Kendra Kunav, who's fabulous, fabulous speaker on all these polarities. She taught me that there is a death that happens within your physical body. Your nervous system says, oh, Guess I can't live in pleasure anymore. I'm gonna eat fast. I'm gonna work fast. I'm gonna go to bed quickly. I'm gonna wake up. I'm gonna numb out. I'm gonna stop my sensations, stop what I'm feeling. I'm not gonna allow pain to feel good ever, because you know what? It can. But we stop that. We stop wanting to feel pleasure, because if we feel just even too much pleasure, someone will take it from us. Someone will hurt us. We will be hurt. When we buy into that belief and we allow our nervous system to go along its merry way, believing that a death happens within our own bodies, obviously, we're being robbed from feeling good in our body, but a death happens in the world. The entire world suffers from you not feeling your pleasure. Because there is truly nothing as awe-inspiring, as beautiful as a woman who is in her bliss, in her body. It's what makes the sun rise and what why the flowers bloom and be generous with their scent. It's what inspires the world to wake up. I mean, honestly, the masculine, someone told me this once, and it's so true. If the feminine did not exist, the masculine, or just men, I'll say, would live inside of cardboard boxes playing video games all day. Why do you think they get out of bed? Why do you think they work so hard? Because their number one desire is to receive approval from the feminine. They're so inspired by the feminine and her heart and her longing and her yearning. I'm not saying that's every single man on the planet, but the pure masculine is inspired to lead because that beauty and that pleasure from the feminine is so exquisite. It's what catalyzes the masculine to wake up. But here's a truth that's hard to grip onto. Why would they wake up if they never see any of the feminine's pleasure and beauty? Why would they want to lead better if her heart doesn't open whenever he does? What inspires him if she refuses to open her heart even when he's trying his best? So my number one thing here, I know I gotta start to wrap things up and I have so much more to share here. Number one thing here is pleasure. Begin to feel pleasure in your body, and that may mean to start creating your own pleasure. When you're doing the dishes, feeling the water and how supple it is against your skin, or when you crawl into your sheets, feeling every ripple of the sheet across your leg as you move and you glide in. Or maybe as you're in intimacy and you're having sex, creating more pleasure for yourself. Not because they're not doing it right, but because you are a woman fully embodied in her power, and you know that you are not just allowed, but you're going to be creating space to take up this moment and to give your body the pleasure she wants. Because the more pleasure your body has, like I said, the more the world wakes up and is inspired. The more we are in our pleasure, I cannot say this enough. The more the strong leaders of our world, men and women, begin to rise, because they are so awe-inspired by that pleasure, by that beauty, by a vessel being in her vessel. So pleasure is the first place to start. And even the subtlest places, like I said, dishes, the clothes you wear, adorning your body. The next thing I'm going to say is a willingness. Number 2 is a willingness. This is not a path for the passive. This is a very active path. And being a woman who decides to go into the feminine, to feel your emotions, to reveal your pleasure, even when he didn't do it right, and to still show you feel good in your body, even when you want to teach him a lesson by turning away and closing your heart. You stepping into that space of that, revealing your heart, revealing your emotions. So maybe that means revealing your anger, revealing your joy, revealing your bliss, connected to your heart. All of that requires willingness. I was listening to, there's this other beautiful teacher, her name is Megan Watterson, and she said that the path of going into your feminine, it requires Joan of Arc bravery. And I have never heard something more true than that. It is much easier to close your heart. It is much easier to cross your arms and say, fine, you're not going to do things the way I want you to do, then fine, to yourself and to others. Because we do that, right? We do that to our lover whenever they don't do something right, but we also do that to ourselves when we don't do something right. We cross our arms, we turn our back, we close our heart, and we think, fine then, I'll teach you a lesson, but by not showing my joy. I won't even talk anymore. That's my wounding. That's what I do. I have a story of being really, really pissed off at two of my teachers, and they treated me a way I didn't like, and instead of going, like that would be the feminine expression. Why? Like that actually, I'm at least revealing, I'm showing how I feel by going, why are you doing this? Teachers, why? Like that is the revealing of the feminine. You know what's not? That, which is what most of us do. So the second thing I'm expressing here is that the feminine takes Joan of Arc courage, because having willingness, being willing to reveal again, being willing to show up, reveal. That is a path that takes much more courage in this day and age, where we have that rubber band effect of wanting to shut off because it hurts. And that's why we go back to number one. When we feel pain or when we feel anger, learn how to add pleasure to that experience. Can you yell? If you are upset at something, can you allow a sound to escape your mouth, a growl, while also feeling your thighs? Can you learn to create eroticism as you become angry? If you are very unfamiliar with expressing your anger while connected to your heart, I invite you to go check out Kali Ma. If you need to see what it looks like to be so in your heart, at the same time you release your jaw and allow a sound to escape, a roar, your frustration. It's not that you're doing it at someone. I'm so mad at you for not doing things the way I want you to. It's that you're saying, I am so devoted to love. I am so devoted to this relationship. Or if we're looking at ourselves, I am so devoted to being a woman in my own body that I will not settle for less. I'm going to feel this pain. I'm going to feel this pain and make it erotic while I do it by feeling my legs and being in my body and also being really fucking pissed. That's the path of the feminine, and that takes willingness. Much more willingness than I'm just gonna turn away. Because when we do that, the world suffers. The whole world suffers. It's beyond you and me. It's beyond our own vessels and our own body and what we want. When we close off our pleasure, the entire world suffers. So this takes willingness to step up for the whole world. That's what leadership is. That's what feminine leadership is. Revealing. So number 3 is responsiveness. This is one of the most important things I've learned in my journey of the feminine is the value of responsiveness. So in your body, being a primarily feminine being, like you have both, but I'm assuming that if you're someone that's really in, like, you're constantly wanting to feel more love and be around more love and love of the world and like love with your partner, like you're most likely primarily a feminine being. It doesn't mean you don't get shit done, you're not building a business, you can still do all that. But if you're really in your emotion and you're intuitive and you're empath and you love love and you want to feel love, you are definitely a feminine being. One of our gifts is responsiveness. So in awesome, Jamie, I love that this is all new to you and it's exciting. It's so much fun to talk about. One of the workshops that I do with my 2 teachers is there's this whole hour we do of revealing how we feel on a moment-to-moment basis. So here's what it looks like. The feminine partner sits here right in front of the masculine partner, and the masculine partner basically just starts doing shit. Like he might start breathing like this, and your only job as the feminine is to reveal how it makes you feel, which is incredibly hard when you're so used to being like this. I'm a good girl. I feel one thing, and it's sweetness. You have to begin to train your body to feel more than that. So this is an hour practice where, and you can do this at home. You can do this. This is the masculine of here's the practice, time and space. This is for an hour. This is for 30 minutes. So having a time and space, having a container, the masculine, can allow you to go deep into the feminine practice. So if you have a person in front of you, man or woman, partner or not, that for this amount of time starts giving you different energies. Maybe this partner in front of you gives their anger and they like get expressive with it, or maybe they give you their elation, or they give you their eroticism. Your only job in that is to reveal how you feel through sound and movement. No words. The feminine loves to use words, but one little trick here, as a feminine being, you actually can demonstrate the truth of your heart in a way that goes deep into the other person's nervous system so much better than words. I could tell you, that really bothered me. I don't like that you did that. Will you stop doing that? Every time you do that, it reminds me of this time when I was 5 years old and it was like really, like that is so hard for masculine nervous systems to stay with. They try to stay with that. But what can go so much deeper is an expression, responsiveness. So if something happens that doesn't feel good, maybe he leaves his socks on the ground for the millionth time. If you decide to go into the feminine path of revealing how that made you feel, you could go into, hey, you left your socks on the ground. It really bothers me. I keep asking you to stop doing that. Or you could go into the closed-hearted, not saying anything at all, just secretly resenting him. Or you could take the path of the feminine that requires deep willingness, and that is to reveal how those socks make you feel. And maybe it means a sacred temper tantrum. Maybe you see those socks and you start, and like making all the sounds. I would go a lot louder, but I've got these things in. I don't want to blow your ears out. But throwing a sacred temper tantrum, getting your temper and allowing it to come out. So in this practice that we do with these two people, it's like an hour of constantly shifting. You become a shapeshifter of like, maybe he does something you like and you go into but then maybe he moves quickly and you don't like that. So then you go and you stick with that until the next one. And maybe he moves in another way and you like that and you go So responsiveness. Maybe he starts boring you with what he's doing. He's just doing the same motion over and over. It's not serving him to get away with that if what he's doing is actually hurting you. Because he'll keep doing it, you'll keep hurting, and you'll keep resenting him for it. So when you do not express and have responsiveness to how you feel about the world's actions, I'm saying him, but I just mean the world, too. So maybe it is your partner, maybe it's the world, maybe the world keeps doing shit you don't like and you keep hiding it away, or you're closing your heart about how you feel about it. Or maybe he keeps doing the same old shit and you're trying to either not tell him, or you're getting really angry and exploding at him instead of just being responsive. Or maybe you don't say anything at all. Maybe he touches you a certain way and you never tell him you don't like that. And you never reveal that you don't like that because you're so afraid that if you reveal it, he'll be hurt. When the deepest pain is actually that he keeps doing that, thinking it feels good for you. When the fix to this is quite simple. It's being touched in that way you don't like and going, And then he'll try something new. It's like, at first it may take a little bit of time. You might have to have some conversation like, hey baby, I'm gonna try some new things, where I reveal how I feel instead of talking about it. But once you get that out of the way, I promise it's much easier. The fourth thing that I'll share here is merely slowing down. We live life so fast. We move so quickly. Even this practice of feeling your emotions more. There might be times where you want to go, you watch this and you think to yourself, yeah, I'm going to go into my emotions. I'm going to create space to feel my feelings, and you want to do it quickly. And you want to just roll out your mat and lay on your back and feel your emotions. How slow can you do that? Literally down to the details, how slowly can you move to your yoga mat? How slowly can you unroll it When you're going back to point number 1, how slowly can you create pleasure in your body? This was one of the first pillars I learned of the feminine, is to go slower. And sometimes this comes into speech. When you listen to a lot of speakers talking, take note of how you feel when they talk. How you feel, not how you think they feel, how you feel. Notice when you listen to a speaker that talks really fast and talks kind of up inside of their head, and then and like they get really into the energy and they're talking really fast, and do you feel your nervous system kind of go on fleek and get a little, oh? Or maybe you feel really grounded when you hear that. And then listen to people who talk a little slower, or leaders who really crystallize their message before they speak it, and you can tell they're taking their time. Notice how you feel between the two. I notice in my own body, I feel like I trust the speakers more who speak slower, because my nervous system doesn't feel like it's in a rush to keep up. The same thing happens in your own life. If you are always in a rush to keep up, what are you keeping up with really though? Your body feels like it can never go into the emotion. There's no time for it. Emotion is a luxury when you're just trying to struggle to survive and to keep up. How are you going to do that if you can't even feel what's coming up? So this is my invitation to feel slower, to even like the subtle thing of reaching for your tea or your drink even slower, bringing it to your mouth even slower, sipping even slower. Notice how everything in your life can be an exquisite experience. Everything can be exquisite. Everything can be divine. Pleasure should not be rushed. Emotion should not be rushed. Even the masculine knows that. You can create a container without rushing it. You can always come back to it too. Okay, so we've got another amazing speaker coming up here. Just to leave you with these notes, there's so much more to dive into around this. Someone mentioned it earlier. I have a podcast called Mind Body Musings, and I've had this for 6 years. So there's lots of episodes, 1 episode a week. Tomorrow I'm releasing an episode called the sex episode. It's all about sexuality, from sexual shame to liberation in my own timeline, using a lot of the analogies of the feminine and masculine, how I got there. But I also have a full-on PDF of all my top feminine and masculine episodes. So I've got a full episode all around unpacking the feminine, unpacking the masculine, and then unpacking polarity in relationship, because there is the feminine masculine within yourself, one human, and then there's the feminine masculine dynamics between another. We've kind of blended both that today in today's talk. But I have at maddiemoon.com/free gift 4 free gifts. One of them is a PDF with all my top episodes, with guests and with my own teachings. And once you're on that, you'll be on a newsletter, like most free gifts lead to. And in the newsletter, you'll get more on the feminine and masculine. I have this little mini series basically that teaches you more. Again, slowly, because there's no rush. The way you learn about the feminine is just as important about what you learn about the feminine. Learn the feminine and masculine, with ease. Don't learn it in a rush. Learn it with ease, learn it with grace, learn it slowly, because the way you learn it can have the deepest healing. So I've got those free gifts there. I also have 4 practices to get into your feminine there. You can download all of that. And then lastly, I have one little gift I just made called the Quarantine Cocoon, and it has stay-at-home resources for this time while you are cocooning, like a little caterpillar about to come into a butterfly. His or her butterfly. That is at maddiemoon.com/cocoon. And my Instagram is Madelyn Moon, MADELYN MOON. Teach there every single day. Tons of juicy content for you. So beautiful to be here. Thank you all for your hearts and your presence, and so glad you learned a lot. Can't wait for y'all to listen to the podcast. just a blessing to be here among so many beautiful, soulful women for a good cause, teaching these divine lessons that are gonna just bring us closer into ourselves. That's all. That's why we're here. It's just like stripping off all the nonsense that's not ours, all the nonsense residue that's meant to fly away. Okay, all right, thank you so much. Let me know if you do have any questions at all. MaddieMoon.com is my website. Would love to hear from you. Feel free to reach out, and I'm sure I will be answering some questions later. Please feel free to drop any that you have, and I'll see y'all in some other upcoming lives soon.